Morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic, let's see, there we go. Today's topic is desire and how our true heartfelt desires are clues to a fuller expression of our essential selves, our essential natures, and perhaps our purpose. So it should be an interesting conversation. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any stress, negativity, and let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, let's imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Rosalind. And good morning to everybody else who's joining us. So good to be here with you. So desire. So many of us deny our desires, like our heart's desire. And when we talk about heart's desire, what that is an opening, an avenue to experiencing our essential selves, to experiencing the light inside us. I'm not talking about necessarily not talking about desire for ice cream or chocolate cake. I'm talking about, although those things could be wonderful, perhaps. I'm talking about the desire that we dream of, that we don't necessarily know how we would ever achieve, or we can find all kinds of excuses not to pursue that desire. We can tell ourselves that we're too old, or we can't afford it, or what we do is we tend to be dream killers before we, or instead of really supporting ourselves in dream fulfillment. And the things that we have a burning desire for, and it's not really the thing stuff that I'm talking about necessarily, but the experience that we yearn for, the expression of certain aspects of life. When we allow ourselves to key into those deeply held desires, and find a way to cultivate them and nourish them, to be able to come into fulfillment of them, I tend to believe that what we're doing is more authentically expressing our hearts and souls. Good morning, Dido. So good to have you here with us this morning. Welcome. We're talking about desire, and I'm kind of linking this conversation about desire, or the dimension of desire that I'm talking about, with our dreams and visions. You know, the things that are consistent in our lives in terms of our yearning. You know, something that we would call a vision or a dream. And I don't mean a dream that is just fantastical, but a dream that is a vision of what our lives could be, and what might be possible if we were to take the steps to fulfill those dreams. And the journey of reaching those dreams is as important, maybe even more important, than experiencing the dream itself. So the kinds of dreams that I'm thinking about are the dreams that are calling us to be bigger than we are, bigger than we know ourselves to be, so that we get to grow into greater capability, greater capacity. And the dreams that I'm talking about are the dreams that kind of scare us to take ownership of. And because why would they scare us? Because typically they're disruptive. Typically they require that we make change, or that we rise to a new level of expression. And even sometimes pursuing those dreams means that we may need to reshape our social structure, cultivate new relationships, maybe let go of old relationships, some of them that might be limiting us, that might not be supporting us in our commitment to fulfill whatever that vision is, that dream. And so it's an interesting conversation. I've spoken to a lot of people about up-leveling the primary people that they surround themselves with, because oftentimes in our relationships we reach a ceiling, or we have old patterns that we're outgrowing, but our relationships sort of want to hold those patterns in place. And so if you're wanting to do creative, outside the box kinds of things, and you're surrounded by people that are quite mired in convention, mired might be a judgmental word there, maybe, that are committed to convention, then you're not going to have a lot of support for your breakout ideas and your breakout potentials. So it's interesting. I'm thinking of crabs in a bucket. And the thing about crabs in a bucket is that when one crab tries to climb out, the other crabs pull it back in to the bucket. At least that's the way the story goes. And I think that that's the way a lot of our social structures work. It was interesting because I've taken to walking my cat, or she walks me she has a harness and a leash. And I was telling a friend about it, and they told me that there was a person who lived in their apartment complex who walks his cat, and everybody makes fun of him. And I said, well, why do they make fun of him? And they said, well, because people walk dogs, not cats. In other words, that's the convention. So if you're breaking the convention, you open yourself to ridicule, which is really kind of standard practice. People will tend to be discouraging or be judgmental or be diminishing when you come up with an idea that is outside of the convention. In fact, that's how we seem to welcome innovations in science or in pretty much anything. Is initially there's dismissiveness, and then there's often I think there's a whole sequence that is kind of documented, but there's ostracism, there's loud objection, and ultimately there's acceptance of something that is new. So being willing to go through that critical phase is one thing, but to strengthen yourself, to be strategic about it enough to find a community of that offers support is really an important thing. Even if it's just one person who believes in you or what you're up to, who is kind of a cheerleader, someone who's on your side, someone who can validate it for you or with you. That can be a really, really powerful and often essential component in being able to fulfill your dreams. And it's not even, as I said, it's not even the necessity for the fulfillment of the dreams as much as it is pursuit of the dream or vision or purpose, because that purpose in and of itself gives us a whole different context for living. And it shapes our resilience, it shapes our mood, it shapes our sense of self, it shapes our perspective on life in so many ways, to have a sense of purpose. And as we think about purpose, a lot of people are engaged in a mission that is kind of white knighting it, trying to right the wrongs of the world. And over the weekend, I was in a meeting with people in the school of thought that Carol Sanford, she has an organization of people that are really looking at how to think, how to generate new ideas, looking at themselves and their own dynamics and how that comes into play. And she talks about how the do-good mentality can create more problems than it solves. So Rosalind says, can the seeking itself become a loop you get stuck in, or is there a sense of identity that's driving the desire? I kind of think maybe it's a sense of desire that might be driving the sense of identity. As a purpose, who I am is in service to that purpose, that expression of life. The seeking can absolutely become a loop that we get stuck in because we're looking for something often outside ourselves that is in fact within us. And I remember years and years of my life being so bereft at not having clarity around what my purpose is. And it was excruciating. It was devastating and depressing. I felt disconnected to life, disconnected to myself, disconnected from meaning. And what I noticed is that I was at that time very much trying to please others. I was trying to be something for other people rather than, because I was clearly told that it wasn't, that what I cared about didn't matter and or was crazy or it wasn't what was important. Yes. Thank you, Dido. That Carol Sanford's website. She's written a number of books and she has a new one out that I just started reading called No More Gold Stars. And she is a proponent along the lines that we have been talking about for a long time, which is we need to set up systems that support or structures that support individual expression and fulfillment of our potentials and expansion of our capacities in terms of authentic expression and creative thought. Really, really beautiful intention there. So this notion of do good, if we look around, we can see so many ways in which when we're confronted with a problem, it's really a fixing mentality. When we are confronted with a problem, we go to try and fix the problem. And this problem fixing thing is like a game of whack-a-mole, where you knock out one problem and three more come up. Because what we're doing is we're looking at a symptom rather than a system, like a living dynamic system that incorporates many, many interrelationships. And we often isolate our attention on one thing without seeing it in relationship to the system that it's part of. So when we look at purpose, there's a lot of power in defining purpose around the broader intention, looking at, like, I could have a purpose of humanity living harmoniously on the planet, or with, as part of nature, as part of the planetary system. That's really, really broad. Maybe it's too broad. I could have a purpose. I think I do have a purpose of having humanity awaken. Like, that's my grander intention, myself included. And so that can take a multitude of forms. That can be expressed, for instance, through the coaching that I do, or through these conversations, or through what I do with sustainability now, with sharing information and having conversations. It can happen in a multitude of ways that I haven't even imagined. And our purpose should be broad enough that we can be expressed within it in a multitude of ways, that it shouldn't be limited to one specific expression. It should be able to encompass all the expressions, all the interests. So Rosalind says, comparing, if not having the desire fulfilled creates discontent. If not having the desire fulfilled creates discontent, if the desire was fulfilled, what question is good to ask? How would you feel if your life was expressed? So, it's interesting, the languaging we use, right? So how would you feel if you were expressing your life? Maybe because here's the thing, life is processed. And so, for instance, I have this vision of an eco park that is and it may be that that's morphing now too, but it's a place in my mind where people go and experience a transformation of their relationship with life, with nature, with the universe, that is unifying and connected and accountable, responsible, and integrated. And so that vision, I don't know if it ever needs to get fulfilled, because so much of everything that I'm doing is intended in that direction, is intended toward the greater commitment around awareness. So the idea with a purpose and this heart's desire thing is that we live into it. It's not something we get done necessarily. There may be expressions of it. There may be physical manifestations of it. There may actually end up being a place that is this eco park. And it's the thing behind the eco park, what generated that is the actual purpose. The eco park is an expression of the greater purpose, which is for us all to wake up, to shift our being in such a way that we live differently, that we relate to each other differently, that we relate to the planet differently. So I just looked at the clock. So it's not that having the desire fulfilled creates discontent. it's not it what creates discontent is not having the clarity around the desire and being able to act into it, to express into it, to live into it, to explore and develop into it. And so when we really get connected to our intention, what we want to devote ourselves to, then there are certain expressions that feel really good for us and that are really reinforcing. And it might be very creative. It might be there are a multitude of ways it could express itself. So the thing is to connect to that heart's desire, like the expression. One of the things that I have been desiring for years and years is to be traveling on the road. And it's something that's emergent for me. And it is going to call me to be bigger than I am. But it's an adventure that's been calling me for years. And so I'm moving more and more closely to it. Dido says, I love how you make these distinctions. It's about having a clear desire, a clear intention, a clear devotion. Then our expression can emerge. Love it. Thank you, Dido. That's awesome. You got it. You got it. That the expression can have a multitude of forms. It doesn't have to look any particular way. So anyway, I have to jump. So it's always a pleasure being with you, and I so appreciate you. That's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And please check out the other wonderful programming on Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living, the YouTube and Facebook channels. And until next time, so much love to you.